welcome to today's session. So today we are going to speak about how SAP IBP has been an essential part for the context of planning. We will try to know more about what's your thought process about SAP IBP and other things. So
Okay.
I've been with SAP for more than 17 years now. I have worked for different industries, just to name a few, like I have worked for chemicals, life sciences, automobiles and fabrication and mining industries and also for mill industries. These are the industries where I have worked for different clients, for national and international clients, and also for a few implementation, rollouts, and support projects with different product life cycle managements, with the overall uh, spanning with different industries, especially with SAP older versions like ECC, APO, and then followed by the new products or offerings of SAP like SAP S4 HANA and SAP IBP with CPIDS and also STI type of integration capabilities for the clients. Great.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of things. Great.
Thanks. So I will firstly start with the agenda, right? So I'll brief about each of this, essentially each of this section, or how do they, you know, create an impact in our sessions and what is the significance they bring to our discussions. So in my sessions, we will start with gap analysis. You could ask me about Raghu, what is gap analysis? So we get our aspirants with different, I would say, platforms or with people with different experiences. So it becomes essential for us to realize what are the different prerequisites which are needed for us in order to make ourselves comfortable with the actual topics, right? So we do not go with an expectation that okay, the planner would or the aspirants they would be already aware of these topics, but rather we will firstly bring the topic with for you, and then we will realize how comfortable are you with the topic, and they will do a little deep dive on the topic, and then we will go to the actual training contents topics, right? So that's the gap analysis for you. Now, in this gap analysis, we will speak about the architecture, we will speak about the important features that makes it to be a valid, relevant tool for the planning, and what are the different prerequisites in the context of planning, what are the three important terminologies we should be knowing about. These are the topics what will fall under gap analysis. This is also an
Okay.
opportunity for you to also make it more interactive by raising more questions to know more about the
Of
topic
course,
and
Raghu, there would be a lot of questions because, this is something really
new for
new for
you.
me.
I get it.
I have experience with like different sort of, you can say, systems like Workday and the Oracle.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, this is something totally new for me, and I think this is something related to supply chain, right?
Supply chain, yeah, it is. Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Okay, so everything is so new for me, but yeah, I'll try to grasp as much as I can. And of
Sure.
course, there would be a lot of questions.
Yeah, those are completely welcomed in our sessions. So you can surely bring up those questions. Yeah,
Okay.
good. So followed by gap analysis, we would go to the little more further, I would say deeper step, introduction to IBP and different modules. So IBP, which of course stands for Integrated Business Planning. So there are different needs for a business in order to achieve their goals. Now, even in the goal determination, we have something like long term, mid term, and short term. What would be the different type of functionalities or what type of different expectations in the planning point of view a planner would have? And then each of this module, what are the differences they bring, what are the different features they consist that makes them something very special and unique. We will realize that under this introduction to SAP IBP with different modules. So of course
Okay.
there is something more about the basic building blocks of IBP where we will see the realization of them in the system. So we have SAP IBP system. So more about okay, it's a web-based, or we also see it as a cloud-based solution. So how we can access it? What are the different navigations we should be knowing about? And how can we start using the SAP IBP? What is the advantage it brings when we compare it to the older version. So for me, when I'm going to take up these topics, we also sometimes try to know what were the different pain points, what users used to consist or what users used to go through when they were using an older system. Do you agree with my point? I say that you can appreciate the new when you are aware of old. What I
Yeah.
mean is, so if I'm going to give you a, you know, let's say a car which is completely automatic, and maybe you have no experience how it used to be difficult for you if you are going to use a manual car, or you have to change your gears, you have to change your clutch every time. And then if I gift you, or you say that, okay Raghu, it's very wonderful, it's fantastic, because lot of my efforts which I do in my driving have been reduced, have been minimized, right? Because the pain points what you have gone through when you're using a manual car, which is not
Yeah.
automatic. The same happens here. So if we are trying to appreciate this new product which is given by SAP, so we should also know about few important pain points at least that planners used to undergo with the older setup. So of course there should be some selling point which makes SAP to sell this product again to the customers, right? So of course there is very new features which are available that we will realize. Then coming to the configuration and navigation, yes. So because it's a completely a new uh, I would say offering product. So if we have experience with the older products like we say SAP ECC or R3, something like APO, so we will see there are few navigations like we speak about a transaction, we speak about how do we go to an easy access and so on. In a similar fashion, a realization point of view, how can I start using this tool? Certain important configuration settings and navigations are essential for us that we will realize further, right?
Okay.
Then going to the deep diving into the training concepts. Now that we get a familiarity with the system, we'll try to more explore about what are the different features it consists of, how it could be related to our specific day-to-day planners day. So now when I speak about the training contents, so you would see that okay, this specific course it has a potential to be taken by different professionals, like you speak about the technical consultants, the domain experience professionals, or people who have a passion to know about the new technology like SAP IBP, or graduates, or also the analytics from any technology, and so on. Now, as it has a mix of different people, so it gives you an opportunity to have different experiences also with what they have undergone and how it is going to appreciate with the previous existing problem statement, right? So that's very important for us when we are seeing the other participants, they come with the different experiences. We will also try to realize, okay, these were the different challenges what we had and how SAP IBP is going to take over with its new features and functionalities.
Okay.
Any questions so far?
Maybe you will address the question, or I don't know if it's the right time to ask, but what are the, career paths if you take up this course?
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. I'll take up this question for sure at the end of our session. Sure. I'll
Okay.
park it for a moment as of now. But yes, we are going to speak about it.
Okay.
Okay. So SAP IBP introduction. So did you had a chance to Google it up to know what is SAP IBP, some full form of it, what it could be, something about it? You had a chance to know about it. What's your thoughts
Uh,
about
Not really, but yeah, I do have an idea that, SAP, these are the systems that help your business, move faster,
it?
grow faster, because in the big companies, it's really hard to have all the data aligned and all that. So yeah, SAP does help in that. I have a very, very basic idea about the system, not really in the detailed one. As I told you that I'm not from, you know, the IT related field, so
Yeah,
I don't really know much. So just
no
consider
problem.
me as a fresher,
Hmm.
as a
Sure,
starter.
sure. But I like the way how you have started about knowing about this tool. So it's more about an organization which has lot of planning process is what you should go through, right? So that's very important point because that makes them to use this tool to a different extent. Now I'll speak about a few important pointers, right, which will help us to realize. Important question, why? So let's take this question, right? Why SAP IBP, right? So maybe we'll make this more louder to know more about how the different features and functions of SAP IBP, right? By it's the way of the product offerings and other things, it makes it an important choice for the clients. Okay, we will try to know more about it with this very basic question: why SAP IBP? Can you help me with the abbreviation of it? IBP stands for
It's business integrated business planning.
superb. Yes, it is integrated business plan. Okay. Now, by looking at very its name, right? Integrated business planning. So it's an integration capability for your business planning. So while I speak about as a business planning under this very simple umbrella, we will see there are different levels of planning, like long-term planning, mid-term planning, and short-term planning. Okay. So by looking at their names, we realize, okay, that the horizon, so the time periods in which they are going to work, they are
Yeah.
different. So like for example, this long-term planning, it would go in years, let's say it's in months. How about short term? What do you think?
Day to day, maybe, or
Yeah,
yeah,
days to weeks.
week.
Very good. Yeah, that's what the way how this planning works. And we would also realize that when the different planning happens, right? So we will see that the different challenges a planner would undergo would also be different. We will take a small case to realize that. Okay, we will further speak more about it. So the takeaway is that i- for any business planning, they need this different types of planning with different granularities. And SAP IBP is one offering which is making it possible with different modules what it consists of. We'll speak more about the modules of it. So one of the first question why SAP IBP would be preferred is it offers different granularity levels of planning. Okay, so we'll speak
Okay.
more about it. We'll speak more in detail about it further in our session. Then comes the cloud offering, or it's a cloud based planning tool. There's a lot of buzzword being used nowadays, right? You say cloud, cloud, cloud. So
Yeah.
what's your thoughts about cloud? What do you say?
Yeah. Everything is accessible to you all the time. It's
Very good.
online. It's
Anytime, anywhere, right?
anywhere. Yeah.
Anywhere, any place, right? So you say that it's accessible to me. Now you already know what's the advantage of it. So you want to access your mail. Now you don't have to go to your same desktop and access it because it's available to you globally. Some any other place,
Yeah.
any other device, you can still access it. So think about this very feasibility being given to planners on the fly at any point, right? So that's the advantage of SAP IBP. So as I was
Okay.
mentioning that we will speak also about few problem statements or some few challenges what planners they used to have. So imagine if how it was to be in an ECC and APO or SAP R3, which are the older offerings. A planner wants to access it, he has to go to a dedicated server and then probably access it and so on, which is not every time so welcoming to the planners. Imagine not about us, but imagine about the day-to-day planners to whom it becomes not that welcoming because probably they have to access it to only specific dedicated line. And of course, it was the reason being It was stored on premise, so there is no access to it any time, any place, and any time also. There are certain challenges. This was
Yeah.
completely eliminated by giving SAP IBP as a cloud-based planning tool. We'll speak about more further about it. So you have used Excel, right? You have used Excel
Yeah.
in maybe your day-to-day, and
Yeah.
sometimes you have you say that, Raghu, for me, the data, looking at the data is very good for me. I will use it in my day-to-day processes, maybe for presentation, maybe to just to analyze few things. Excel is a very good tool. You say that, right? So you can agree on this point
Yeah.
at least. So now imagine about a huge manufacturing process, right? So where you have lot of different things what you have to procure, you may have to produce and so on. So it requires a lot of data evaluation. So whatever
Yeah.
the best solution, what are the very, the interactive tools they have been providing. So what SAP has observed is, in spite of giving a very user-friendly screens and so on, Excel has been a part of a planner's every day-to-day life in many of the aspects. So what SAP has did something very special is that they entered the planner's world by giving access to SAP right from Excel. What do I mean is, a planner can now use Excel based UI. UI stands for user interface. Okay.
User
So
interface. Yeah.
so that means a planner, he can still access Excel. From there, he can start using SAP features and functions to do his job. So he don't have to go to a SAP, GUI and start logging in and so on. But he can still do it the same thing right with the Excel. Right? That's another advantage that makes it so special, because you can't remove Excel from a planner's job, because of it gives a lot of features and functions which are very useful for him. So what SAP has did, it has introduced its very planning functions right in the Excel. We will also realize that. We'll also see how does it look like in our session. Okay, so that's another advantage that makes us special. Okay, so
Yeah.
especially think in the point of an end user world, right? So how significant it would be, like because he wants to see a data, you don't have to pull the data from SAP system and then download it and then make a
Yeah.
formatting of it, but rather he can just play with the data right in the Excel. So that's the advantage he gets, right? Then followed by, we have SAP Fiori apps in Web UI. Now imagine about the older products or the offerings. So if I just have to say, do you have to know what is a material? So you would say that, Raghu, for me, I have to remember a transaction to know about it. You say like MM03 material master example, right? So you say, I
Hmm.
need to know the material. If I have to know about a material, I need to know what is a transaction I should use. Only then it makes sense to me. Or at least I should know the navigation of SAP Easy Access, the older product I'm speaking to, I'm referring to, right? So, but think about again an end user's point. It would be, he would feel it's tedious for him to remember all the transactions or maybe to keep a note of them and what do they mean and so on. But that is much more simplified with SAP Fiori apps. So Fiori apps, they are more self-explanatory, and there are a lot of features they consist of, like you can create your own tiles, you can create your own groupings and so on. A lot of different features are available now for the planner that makes him to customize his screen without any assistance of technical consultants. Or it is not, I would say it's not more it's not completely more driven with the technology, but rather it can be simplified with only with the simple options and navigation tips which are available for the planner. He can also modify his screen by himself. So that is a lot of advantage what a planner would see using SAP Fairy app. And do you agree with my point? The
Yeah.
planner's successful usage of a tool will decide whether a tool is more attractive for him or it's not so attractive for him, right? So you say that, okay, Raghu, I will give you a very perfect analytical tool, but it becomes hard to me to use it. So I would say that, okay, I will not appreciate your tool. in other way. The reason being, as an end user, I do not have an understanding of how should I start using it. So maybe you have to take a training again about it, and of course, at a day-to-day life, it becomes difficult for them to invest more time. So probably I will try to ignore or I will try to reduce its usage because I'm not completely aware of the features of it, right?
Yeah.
So what happens if you can give me such a tool where you don't have to train me, but rather by just by seeing it, I would be able to realize by myself. So that's what SAP Fiori will give us. We'll also see a web-based UI, how it looks like, what are the different navigation consists of, right? So these are a few of
Okay.
the questions. What makes why SAP IBP as the next important say a planning tool, which most of the clients they are using. So there are also a few other reasons, like for example, SAP APO, which is an older offering of SAP. So it is now going to sunset by 2027, and it could be extended. But the clients want to say that, okay, I want to use the latest offering so that I'm ready in the market, right? So that's another reason. Now,
Mm-hmm.
there are a few features, right? What SAP IBP consists of. Before I speak about the feature, probably I will speak about a problem. So let's say, for example, if I have to connect my SAP to any other external systems, so SAP was not, it was just an on-premise system earlier. So connection to different external systems was a bit challenging. So it was because of very few features what it consists of. So we used to say about something called IDOC. Maybe you might have heard about this maybe in your human resource management also. We say it as IDOC, which refers to intermediate document, which will be processed from external system. Now that's not a case which is suitable even in this digitalized world. Now if I'm going to ask you, like you want to buy a new mobile phone, and you would
Yeah.
say, Raghu, for me, if I have to buy a new mobile phone, there are few things what I would do as a as a preliminary steps. For example, getting a review about a product, trying to know what is the the different users who have already bought, maybe trying to know what were their comments about them, and then trying to see what is the different variants you have, and then you will speak about what is the different costs what each of the variant would be, and then looking out for what is the best match for your requirement. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So this is what it is. Now I will go to the same situation. You want to buy a new mobile phone, but I'm going to take you back, let's say for 15 years back. And if I want to speak about the same example, what you would say is that, Raghu, maybe I will go to a shopkeeper who would give me an already packed mobile phone, and only option what I would have is just to select a color. Right? So you have
Yeah.
very few options to really to examine. But this is not the case now. So you can't just give me such a solution where you are still referring to that as such a older planning, or such a older way of a habitat of a customer using how should he buy a new mobile phone or any other product, let us say. So now it's a digital
Yeah.
world. So your product should also be equivalent to enable the digital features of what the current situation is. So SAP IBP provides a lot of integration capability. The integration capabilities they are very much enhanced that makes SAP IBP again a special tool to consider. Now, just to give you an example, the SAP IBP is now already connectable to Facebook, LinkedIn, and the number would go further in the future roadmap. Now, you would ask me Facebook and ERP planning, how they will be related. Now we spoke about a situation, right? Maybe you take an example of any influencer, right? You give me a name, you say that, okay, I'm fond of this person, Raghu. Give me a name.
Influencer. Okay. Elon Musk, for
Elon
example.
Musk. Super. Elon Musk. Now, so you took a very good example because you would say that, okay, with reference to Elon Musk, you say that, Raghu, there was a very positive appreciation about, say for example, cryptocurrency, and you say that okay, most of the
Yeah.
influencers will also start trying to know more about it because it's spoken about one of the the new in the market, and people will try to explore about it. So a good review will give a positive update, and a bad review would give a negative impact to the product. You agree with that point now? Because it's a
Yeah.
it's going to make a difference in your market. Now, if you're not going to encash it immediately, so probably you may end up with not giving a right service. Now, if I'm going to speak about the same situation, Elon Musk is supporting heavily, let us say, iPhone. And he says that, okay, this is the best phone ever I have used, let us say. So do you say
Yeah.
that, okay, maybe it's a new release version, let us say. You would say that, okay, Raghu, there is at least 10 to 15% of chance that people who have been influencers for him, so at least they will try to buy this new mobile phone because they take his word, right? The same other way
Yeah.
around. Maybe gives a negative comment, and in that case, the service provider, let's say Apple here, should make a quick change to get it fixed so that he would ensure that this is not being affecting his sales, right? So if he is not
Yeah.
going to connect with this Facebook, you know what happens. So you probably it's already is going to a negative shade of the product, and probably he will lose his sales, right? So now we say that okay, the same integration channels what we were using in say 15, 20 years back, they still cannot be used. So to make this integration capabilities, we have something called cloud platform integration, right? It's a very powerful tool which can be used to connect different systems. So that makes again SAP IBP a very special tool to consider. Okay, just to bring the abbreviation of it, cloud platform integration, right? These are a few
Yeah.
questions, right? Or these are a few pointers that makes the client to think about why SAP IBP. So there are a few more others. We are going to speak about them more in detail. Right? As we further deep dive into the topics, there are few other prerequisites what we should know about and so on. So we will speak more about them as we further realize about these different features, right? So as I was mentioning, right? So just highlight this. Yeah. So this is a cloud-based planning technology that can be
Yeah.
used for more accurate planning. So, and also the another reason what I should mention is about AI. So you heard about this stuff, AI. What it is?
Yeah. Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence. Super. So so we know how important it brings now in the market for different innovations what they are bringing, right? So in the context of the ERP, enterprise resource planning, also AI has its contribution. So adoption of this latest technologies like AI is also another reason why SAP IBP is preferred. Now, where do we use AI in SAP, Raghu? So we are going to speak more about it. We are speaking about the different features of demand planning and how it is going to be useful. So just imagine,
Okay.
so you're going to use the algorithms or the features of AI in your planning. So of course that means your product is up to the mark, or it's latest with the different changes what happened in the market, right? So that's the advantage of SAP with this IBP, where it is able to adapt to this new latest technology. That's another reason why SAP IBP is preferred by most of the clients.
Okay.
I just want to give you an overview of what are the different modules of SAP IBP. So as I was mentioning that there are different needs or there are different requirements a planner would see in the different planning horizons, right? Like I spoke about long term, mid-term, or short-term. So each of these planning terms, they have different challenges. Also, they have different requirements. So in order to realize them, SAP has provided with this very quick way of implementation with providing different modules what a planner would like to choose in his current landscape. So SAP IBP for demand planning, SAP IBP for sales and operations planning, followed by SAP IBP supply chain control tower, IBP inventory management, supply and response, and DDMRP, which stands for Demand Driven Material Requirement Planning and Shelf Life Based Planning. So you would see that on maybe a few clients would like to use only few of them, and maybe some of them wants to use all of these features. So how do we do that realization? We are going to speak about user stories. So further, we will speak about what's the user story and more about it. And also it gives me now an opportunity to share how an SAP IBP sprint would look like. So this is just a diagrammatic representation, but I will also just quickly show you how a web UI would look like and how an Excel. So we spoke about that. Okay, Excel has been welcomed with SAP features to be added. So that also we will realize. So let me just quickly show you the SAP screen now. Just a moment. Okay, here we go. So you can see now SAP.
Yeah.
Right. So currently what we are observing is it's a web UI. So right by looking at the different tabs, as a planner, I would know what type of data it consists of. Let's say, for example, dashboard. So, this style will help me to see dashboards. Similarly, maybe I want to see application log. So I can know
Mm-hmm.
more about it by looking at its style. So that's what we say as theory tiles. Here, that is more easier for a planner to know what this specific tile does. Now, further, maybe let's say I'm a planner and maybe I want to use one of this, let's say anything, I can pick up anything. I want to use this specific theory app. And then I realize that, okay, I want to know more about this, what this app can do for me. Let's say, right? There are a few important navigations I was mentioning, right? For example, what's this app? So this can give me a whole plethora information about what all features that it consists of and what are the different important details I should know about and so on, right? That's the advantage it brings. Additional to that, can you see there are some bubbles on the screen,
Yeah.
right? So probably, for example, say this example. So what does this source mean? So this column is the source application for the chart and so on. So some basic information which is needed is available here for the planner. And of course, to know the more details about it in detail, so you already have shown you this option called what's this app and so on. So in this way, SAP is providing a user information guide for all these apps which are useful for him and how further he can start using it and so on. That's another advantage when you do a comparison with normal F1 help, what we used to process in SAP ECC world. It's not that great interactive, right? Do you agree
Yeah.
by any chance?
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
because probably it holds a certain text, but rather if I just want to know about a transaction by itself, to know the more details about it, maybe I may have to take a course, but not but imagine about an end user, how difficult it would be for him to realize, okay, what this transaction is about, why do they call it as MM03, right? Something like that. So probably he's not that clear for him. So probably he needs to know, okay, it's for create is some other transaction, change is some other transaction, display is some other transaction, and so on. So but now it's more simplified. So he wants to do a change, he can create something, he can do it, he can modify, he can delete and so on, right from one single SAP Fairy app. So that's the advantage. So we have a lot of navigations. How should we start using it and so on. This is the just a view of how would an SAP web UI would look like. Now, I would also now wish to go to our Excel. So I'll come here. You realize that, hey, this is the normal Excel what we use, right?
Yeah.
So additional to this, you see there's a small observation here that you see that, okay, there is new tab here, SAP IBP, right? And I'll just show you how it looks like generally. So I'm logging off with an intention just to show you how it is. So this is your normal file now, right? A normal Excel file. And here you want to say that, okay, Raghu, now I want to switch to SAP to see some data. what would be an older version or a plan for a planner to do? He has to go to SAP GUI, give his credentials and so on, and then get the data. From there, maybe he has to access tables. From there, he has to download it, and then he has to format it, and then he has to make it presentable to his other colleagues or maybe his supervisor, and then make it ready. And imagine this is something what they oftenly do. You say that okay, it's going to be painful. I mean, painful for him because it takes a lot of time. You agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I will show you how simplified it. I go for log on. You see SAP gives me an opportunity to give my connection details, and this I'm just trying to log on to one of them just to show you, right? And then it gives me the information about, so these are some credentials what we generally also do um, for all the systems also the same way. We need to give our user credentials and so on. That's going to be same. But what I see is that I'm not going to really to a different system to do that, but rather I'm doing it right by staying at my Excel, and then doing doing my job. So I just give the credentials, and now system is loading the information. So it gives you the information that hey, and your request is under process and so on. And here you go. You see now you have this different features available, right? Now I see that okay, Raghu, for me, I use some specific data on a very frequent basis. We are going to speak about something called planning views. So planning view is more about systematic representation of data for a much more easier evaluation, let us say. So for example, I'm
Mhm.
going to pick this historical data. So I'm a planner who try to evaluate data very oftenly about how is my history about a product, what is it, and so on. You see that it's just a few clicks away where I can get the data in certain format, right? So that's the advantage. And of course, I have a lot of other features which we will speak about, we'll explore about using the different functions and navigations within SAP Excel IBP ribbon. We see it as IBP ribbon because it's an add-on, right? It's an add-on to our
Yeah.
existing Excel. So how do we activate it? What are the prerequisites? What is the details about a version and other details? We will try to know more about as we further deep dive to our topics.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions for me as of now?
Uh,
No, right?
no, not right now.
So I also have brought up this uh, SAP integration capabilities point of view, right? So you see, there are already the industries here. For example, process, discrete, FMCG, mill, and mining industries have heavily implemented SAP IBP. So the advantages being, for example, in integration, MES, which stands for Manufacturing and Execution System. So there are new offerings which are coming up, or I would say that new emerging technologies, like you speak about something called digital manufacturing, right? Or we also say it as um, digital manufacturing cloud, right? We say it is in the abbreviation form as DMC. So this type of new emerging technologies, they're already integratable with SAP IBP. So it also can be used to connect the HTML pages, for example. As a customer, when you are going to use, say, an e-commerce site, say, for example, Amazon, you have been a user for Amazon, right?
Yeah.
So when you are trying to register yourself, you don't go with the whole details, but rather maybe you say that, okay, for me as a user, probably I would use my contact number, my mail ID, and maybe a few important information, and there you are done. So you don't have to be given a form and then you fill it up, and then you're gonna you know make it form is filled and then you do, but rather you say that there's some other different systems which are being used, Raghu, in order to save the data, right? If you have to, so just imagine for the service provider, like say Amazon, if he wants to access the customer information, it's not stored in his direct system, but rather it is stored at some other uh, place which he has to access it, right? So in that case,
Yeah.
integration to this different systems, it becomes important, and SAP has this feature already. So there are few technologies like CPIDS I have just introduced you just now, and it also has AI, it has cloud, it has HANA. So all of these different technologies that makes SAP IBP very special. And how about user experience? So web UI and Excel UI, we have just now seen how do they look like. And also we have theory, we have seen it already. And also we have SSO, which means single sign-on opportunity, which also a user can use using SAP IBP. So what are the different features and functions like custom algorithms? We'll speak about what is an algorithm, how we can make a customization of it, and so on. Quick upgrades and another advantage. Now we should know that SAP, it gets upgraded with the latest version for every 3 months. So that means any new changes in the market, they are welcomed in SAP with the next 3 months. That's an advantage. So you don't see that, okay, AI has been, let's take an example of AI. So AI, let's say it has bought a few more new algorithms. So you cannot say that, okay, Raghu, I will adopt this maybe 5 years from now. What would people say it as? You say it as an outdated tool? Do you agree? Right?
Yeah.
So of course it cannot be the next night. As you know, they take some time for them to realize how they be used. So SAP takes uh, a decent enough time, 3 months of time to come with a new release, right? And we will speak about how do we speak about the current release details, what is the current version, how do we realize that, and so on. Many details are there that we will realize as we further deep dive to our topics, right? So that's very important. So quick upgrades which are possible. Then we speak about data load functionalities. What are the different systems which will be involved generally in an implementation projects? How do we realize them, and so on, and navigation assistance. So I just help you with one of the option like basic help, but there are other important functions also like announcements, feedback, and so on, which are very new in SAP's offerings when we compare it with the older one. Okay.
Okay.
So additional to that, we were speaking about a platform with SAP is highly appreciated because of its integration to different systems. We refer it as cloud platform. So there are some important aspects which we will realize further in our sessions, like realization of how should we load the data, what are the different prerequisites a planner would do, and what each of the steps it means. We'll realize more about it as we further deep dive in our session. Okay,
Okay.
so as I was mentioning that we will speak about user stories, like we will speak about few important users, what type of business role they hold. So we are going to really, play different roles where, or I would say that we are going to, keep ourselves in a different hats, and we'll try to know what will be their roles, what will be the challenges, and how SAP IBP is going to help them, right? So, for example, in this case, I'm speaking about David, who is an FMCG process orchestration team member, and we have Maria, who is a logistics and operations planner. We have Anna Maria, who is an external procurement manager. And we have Paul, who is an inventory and shop floor manager. Now, looking at their designations, you say that Raghu, they would hold a different types of responsibilities. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
Right? But just imagine you have one single tool which can integrate all of them, which can give a one visibility of all their data can be visible to others. What are the different opinions? What are the different planning options they think about if they are being communicated easily, effectively without other external tools? That's SAP IBP's feature now. So you don't have to, make up your all Excel. Let's say, for example, David would try to do a change, and he wants to know whether this change is appreciable or not. For that, maybe he has to set up a call, and then he has to load the whole data and then explain it to other three users in this case, let us say. But just imagine if there's going to be a small comment what David has did and what is the purpose, and he would like to do it only with an approval of others. So just such a important collaboration features which are
Yeah.
missing with the older products are doable now with SAP. We'll try to know how we can do it, how we can achieve it, and what are the different additional features we will realize about them. So there are different settings which we should also know about. In order to achieve them, we will try to know more about it as we deep dive.
Okay.
Okay, so the whole training journey, how it goes, it's just a one single slider which will help us to realize about it. Starting with gap analysis, as I mentioned, it speaks about all the prerequisites. So that's going to be a very interactive where we will realize more about your experiences and how comfortable you are with the topics, and we will also take additional, you say the length and width of a topic will be expanded further, where we will be able to make ourselves comfortable with the actual topic. That's the gap analysis for you. Followed by
Okay.
system two, have an awareness about different navigations. You would be provided with a system where you will start accessing it already, and you will be also be the presenter for some time, so where you will know how should you start using the system, what are the different navigations you should be knowing about. So that's the system tool for you, right? Which of course involves SAP IBP, Excel UI, and also Web UI, followed by the
Okay.
configuration and transformation. So what are so of course you know that okay, SAP cannot give one single solution which can fit for all the clients, right? Because the clients have a different the services what they provide, or they have a different business priorities and so on. So it has to be configured according to the client. So how do we do it? Different user stories will come here. We will try to know what is the challenge and how can we be able to achieve it with a different configuration and transformations. So it's no more about like how you would feel your clients engagements in the real time, in other way, right? Followed by
Okay.
assignments and assessments. So you would be also going through few assignments and also assessments, which will help you to go to a lot of introspection within the topic, how it is going to work, and how can you make it more utilizable in the problems what the users will come with. That's what we see it as user stories, or the real time scenarios where you're going to apply your knowledge you gain. And then, of course, what's new also is an important topic here for SAP, something like SAP IBP, because it comes with the latest versions. And how do we make ourselves market ready? Or how do we make ourselves aware of what are the new changes? What are the different things what are the different sites we should go through? Or what are the different tips SAP provides to us that we will all realize further in this last avenue, that is what's new. Okay. This is the way how we have planned our session for you,
Okay.
right? So you also have the session recording for your future references, essential materials, which are train and narrated, topic-wise assessments and results, understanding of case studies, and also access to classroom for online forum questions and shared ideations, right? So that's the overall plan what we have planned for you in the session. Any
Okay.
questions for me?
No, it's pretty clear. You gave me a good understanding of how does this IPP work. I was a bit confused about it. That's why I tried to search online, but it was like so much information. So I thought,
Mhm.
okay, let's wait for the training, like for this introductory session. So yeah, it gave me a pretty good idea. It looks very interesting, and the way you have also shared with me like how the training journey goes, that's also, yeah, that's quite impressive. So yeah.
Right. So there was one question which you had where we
Yeah.
were referring about the avenues. So currently SAP IBP, as I was mentioning, that it is heavily being used at implementation point of view for most of the clients or SAP older customers, I would say. So people who have awareness about SAP IBP are of course ahead of the crowd. For me, it's it is the right time for you all to invest in this SAP IBP, because there is a lot of opportunities in different parts of the world. To speak about Canada, USA, Australia, New Zealand, all the places what we have mentioned, or many other places, of course, we have a lot of potential for this because it's being a very new offering. And as is another advantage for us, every 3 months we get a new release. That means you have
Yeah.
something new in the box. It's not like something which was been given for 1 2 years back, and of course it's already stabilized what it is. So that's not the case. That means as a consultant you have a lot of other opportunities that that new customers would come to you because there's something changed and they need to be updated with that. So it's not like what's one time installed Ragu and it's done. No, that's not the case, but rather
Hmm.
you have a constant advantage of moving with the latest version.
Okay. And Raghu, what sort of like roles are there? For
Mhm.
example, like designation wise, what do you
I
call
get it.
them? The positions. Like if
Yeah.
you search for the jobs, for example, so how do you
Mhm.
go about it? What do you have to search exactly?
Sure. So, with reference to the responsibilities, what we as a consultants, we are referred as functional consultants and technical consultants. So functional consultants are responsible for configuration of system, data realization, data evaluation, and modification according to the customer's need. Similar to our previous also, right? But when I speak about technical consultants, they are integration champions. So what I mean
Okay.
by integration champions? So I was mentioning about you have different systems, like you have SAP ECC or SAP R3, or maybe you also have some other system from where you have to pull the data, from where you have to, publish the data and so on. So we spoke about HT, it can be a HTML page, it can be, something like SAP ECC system, it can be some other system from where, or a non-legacy SAP system and so on. So in order to get the data, there are certain important technical aspirations which has to be filled, right? So they are called as SAP IBP technical consultants. So these are the two major classifications. So you also may
Okay.
see a solution architect who is whole and soul responsible for giving a complete picture of the whole how implementation can be managed, like right from the different systems which are involved. So we are going to get into this with some terminologies like we speak about as artifacts. What is an artifact? So I speak about say a situation, an example, right? I say that I need to get Facebook to be connected to my system. This is just an example, right? So you say so there should be some diagrammatical representation. You say that Raghu, this is your IBP system, this is your left hand side you have Facebook, right hand side you have ECC, and other hand you say that you have XML pages and so on. So how should it be? How should it be connected? What are the different techniques we should use and so on? All of this full end-to-end visibility of the system configuration, we refer them as architects. So those are the three major classification you would see in the context of roles and responsibilities. So further, if
Okay.
you say that okay, we are using agile process, Raghu, you'll further develop. You will say them as development team, or product owner, and scrum master, and so on, depending on the type of business process you follow. So that's the difference only.
So you can take any of the path, or is it like hierarchical? Like you start as a technical consultant, and then you move to the functional, and then you move to the architect, or it can be your choice that whatever area is more fascinating for you.
Yeah. So what is the the very oftenly used pattern by the most of the consultants is people they have an experience with say SAP ABAP. You have you might be aware of this the terminology SAP ABAP. What we use the consultants who are the developers in our older versions of SAP offerings, right? So they would
Okay.
go with the technical consultants. The reason being they have the people who are going to be SAP IBP technical consultants, they need good enough experience and knowledge in coding because there are some situations where they need to write down the code, right? So
Yeah.
you would see the people with those experiences, they would go as a technical consultant, whereas the others, they would move to a functional consultant. And yes, to the next level, that is a solution architect. Either of these people can still go, but even a technical consultant still have to go through the functional aspirations, or else he cannot become an architect because he need to know, he need to understand what are the real basic functions of SAP IBP, which is of
Yeah.
course an awareness program. This will be helping you to know. This is essential for him also, even if he starts his career as a technical consultant.
Mm-hmm. Okay.